We are back. This is the first time I've done a two-parter for Studio B, and it's such a rich topic that I had to break it into two. Nicole Adewale of Abner Engineering is still with us. She did not leave yet.
I'm waiting for the comments.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I'm a terrible hostess.
No, we can join us.
And Lorna Godwin from Vector Communications as well. And we are talking because the U.S. Census Bureau says the number of African American women who are starting businesses is at an all-time high. And that is certainly true in the St. Louis metro area. And I said this earlier, I will say it again, that I found these two women. They are friends. We've known each other for years, but there's a long list of women in the St. Louis region that have started companies. So we ended with advice, and we wanted to continue in that vein because you both have been in business for so long that you are women that we need to be mentored by. We need to pick your brains. We need to know what you did, how you stumbled, and how you got back up again. So one of the questions, we were talking about getting family involved. I think most people out there would think, ooh, I don't know if I want to do that. Yeah. We hear such horror stories, but it works for you, and it works for you.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And if you don't mind, so part of it is, yes, sometimes putting family in the business. I'm not necessarily saying that. Sometimes that works.
Sometimes that doesn't
work. But either way, you want to have your family supporting your business.
Okay, that's a key difference.
Making sure that if you have children, that they can help take care of them. If you just don't have time to cook dinner, that maybe your mom cooks dinner once,
So you're not alone. You're not alone in it. Okay.
Absolutely. They're helping take care of some of the soft things while you're focused on the business, or even just simply encouraging you, praying for you, helping you out, just making you feel secure in
being an ear.
Exactly.
Yes. And Lorna said that when she started, her partner said to her, I can do this, but I'm a single mom and I cannot travel. And that is so intriguing to me because I think that as women, we're afraid to set up parameters. We're afraid to do that because we feel that people are not going to receive it. Exactly. But she said, yes, I'll do this, and you accepted that, of course.
Absolutely, because again, I felt that we were two smart women, and I saw other people, quite frankly, who owned a business who weren't that smart and were successful with it, and I said, if they can do it,
I can do it.
We can do it. And it worked for us because in that partnership, her strengths are my weaknesses and vice versa. But the key is we have the same core values.
Okay.
Integrity, honesty, transparency, because all of those things. So it is like another, I say I'm married to two people. I have a spouse at home and I have one at work. And I've been very fortunate in being successful with both. But that is the key. And the other key, particularly in our case, is working twice as hard. That was the other thing. We don't get second chances.
Yes.
I've seen other
And you're saying as women or as black women we don't get second chances? Or it's both?
As women, as African Americans, as a minority. We do not get second chances on projects. So we always have to be excellent. Excellence is one of our core values in everything that we do. Now that has created a burden at times. It's very stressful. I've had people quit because of it. Saying,
really?
Oh yeah, I've never worked this hard in my life.
That's what people said as they were walking out the door.
Right. Yeah. Right.
See, that's just stunning to me.
The flip side is, it has allowed us to get a lot of contracts and to do well because 85% of our work over the years has come through referrals. Because we're not cookie cutter. We try to go the extra mile with our clients. But that was the burden, so to speak. We accepted that and then we turned it into a positive. But you always have to try and be better each time. And excellence is key because you might not get that second chance.
Let's talk about financing a little bit too. I always tell people I married my husband for his credit rating. Because I
smart
did.
Woman.
A very smart woman, very smart woman. And I'll tell this quick story that it was encouraged to me by a woman I was doing Bible study with to write down what I wanted in a husband. And that was one of those things, that he was financially literate and that he was good with money. Because for one, I knew that I wasn't. And we've been married 21 years now, so he hasn't looked at the credit card bill and left me yet. But but when we talk about finances and owning a company, for a lot of women who are single and or who are single parents, as your partner was when you started, that is a very frightening thing. And the notion that is a bank going to look at me
Right.
and think that I'm a worthy risk.
Right. So, you know, the old adage, you got to have money to get money, is very, very true. And people are willing to invest in you if you've invested in yourself. So if you have been saving for years, but you hit a point in your business where now I do need some money to cover cash flow, banks are much more willing to look at you and help you out than somebody says, I got an idea and I want you to fund this.
And
now,
you haven't a nickel.
Exactly.
And you haven't invested.
Exactly.
Okay.
But then that doesn't mean to say that there aren't opportunities out there, especially in St. Louis. There's all these different angel investors. There's the one that's specifically for women that I think it just closed, Prosper. There are opportunities that if you have an idea, you're willing to jump out there. There are people who want to fund it, but that is not the norm. The norm in starting a business is somebody who either can do the business within the resources they've had. Either you can do it in your home, or maybe somebody loans you some space, you need limited equipment, those kinds of things. Both of us have businesses where we had limited capital startup. We just needed money for ourselves to live on to start the business. You need a computer, a phone, that kind of thing. And so it was relatively easy, but I still had to cover my salary. And then when you start adding employees, you have to be able to cover that. So, but the biggest thing is with finances, you have to be in the game. You have to have some of your own skin in the game for other people to take you seriously.
Did you want to add to the financing piece?
I was very fortunate. My husband, who's a business owner, owns Interface Construction. He helped me out in starting the business.
You chose wisely as well.
Yes, yes. But even though I had money, I went and sought a loan, which was very, very hard to get. I didn't want to put up my own personal money for it because we're selling intellectual capital, as Nicole just said. But here's what happens, and this is why networking is so important. I was at a dinner, and I happened to sit next to a woman whose husband was the CEO of Mercantile Bank at the time. Typical conversation, what do you do? I said, I'm starting this business, and one of the struggles has been I haven't been able to get a loan, and I wanted $25,000 revolving line of credit, and I've been turned down by 3 other banks.
My goodness.
Because I wouldn't put my own.
Because you wouldn't
up.
put your, okay.
Yes. But we just really hit it off that night. The next day, someone from Mercantile Bank called me, and I had that revolving line of credit.
Networking is critical.
Networking is critical for that.
Do you find people who don't like to network or who don't know how? Do we still not know how to network?
Yes, and don't like to network. And it's so important to your business because many times it's not what you know, it's who you know. You want the opportunity. We as women of color, and I'm speaking for you, Nicole, but we've known each other long enough.
Yes.
We just want the opportunity.
Yeah.
Give us the opportunity, and then we can make it happen. But getting that opportunity is often so very difficult.
Okay. Let's talk about, you were told, don't do this in St. Louis because you'll see these people in the grocery store.
Right.
But there are certainly other attitudes about St. Louis. Some are very positive. You know, we're married here, we're raising kids here, we live here by choice. But there are some negative images about St. Louis, that it's hard, whether it is gender issues, gender equity issues, or whether it is ethnicity issues. We're a small town minded, maybe some say. And you do business all over, both of you do. So you're not just based in St. Louis. We want to make that point. But to women who say, I would never start a business in St. Louis, you know, what do you say to them?
So interesting that I just had an experience. You know, I used to get really sensitive when people from out of town would come here and say, you know, things about St. Louis and that invisible line that we talk about that runs down Del Mar.
Right.
And we know what that line means. And but I went to Gulf Shores, Alabama for a vacation. Had a wonderful time. There were not many people who looked like us there, but I felt very comfortable. And I'm not saying that I'm naive to think that everybody there was really glad to see me, but they had sense enough to make me feel comfortable while I'm there spending my
Spending
money.
your money, yes.
Exactly. As opposed to here sometimes, part of that divide is not only are you not happy about me being here, you don't even want my money. You don't want to do business with me. You don't want to see me succeed. So one of the things that we have to do, and we've been blessed to do work with each other over the years. We have very different businesses, but we're in the same space. And we've supported each other. Her husband has given us advice over years. And I'm trying to give back, because what I've learned and found is from that networking piece, for women especially, we may not have the country club relationships where somebody is in the business that we're trying to get business from that's going to make us successful. But I have found and developed some relationships. I have some very good ones where somebody says, okay, not only we're going to hire you, but I'm going to make sure you're successful. And that's what I'm trying to do with the small janitorial company that started to work for us. They came on, they needed to do some things to do business at the level that I was expecting, but then I've also, at least once a week, we're having these casual conversations about what do you need, what services, have you thought about this kind of thing? And African American women tend to not have those. So that goes back to your thing about how people perceive us. We as Black women still, for whatever reason, are not perceived as having the capacity to be leaders in business. And that's unfortunate, because we do and we can. We just need the same kind of opportunities and relationships that other people have.
And Lorna, go ahead.
And people are so surprised that my business partner and I are still in business together. I mean, two African American women
The assumption
own a
that
business, and then all of my employees are female. I don't have any males.
And that is by design.
It just sort of worked out that way. We had a male once, and then he went off to follow his girlfriend, who was on Harvard Law Review, and she was homesick for him, and we said, go follow her. That will be a good thing. But just the women, we multitask well, and we'll go the extra mile. We'll work twice as hard. That's what we have found. And sort of all the employees like it that way. Because I'm the last, if we're looking at a new person, I'm the last person to interview them. All the employees interview them first.
Interesting.
And then if they, because our culture, that's the other thing. Creating a culture of excellence, of empowerment, as Nicole was saying we were saying earlier, that she is doing with her employees is so very, very important. And culture for us is everything. So I'm the last to interview them.
Let me ask you a question, and they always say you shouldn't ask a question you know the answer to, but I have my own answer to the question. I don't know what you'll say, but I know that there are those who feel that the focus on diversity, they're uncomfortable with it. Maybe they don't understand it, or they don't agree with it or support it. But I've always been of the mindset that I see people in downtown, which is where I work, and they may not look like they're as successful as I am, but then I always wonder, who were you supposed to be?
I play that game all the time.
I do that all the time, Nicole.
Yes.
Who were you supposed to be?
Yes.
What step was it that you missed that has now made it difficult, more so, for you to be who you are supposed to be? And thinking that then, we should wonder what we're missing in our community because everybody's not living up to their potential. So that's laying some groundwork.
Yes.
Why is it then important that women of color not only go into business, but own companies and have employees and juggle and balance things like the two of you have been doing for decades now? Why is it important?
You set your own destiny. So many people in corporate America where they work hit that glass ceiling. And folks will think, oh, you own a business, oh, you can take time off and do this and do that, and it's easy, and it's not. But at least you're in charge of your own destiny. And that's why we need to encourage more. And it's tough, there's no doubt about it. It is not easy.
You guys aren't going to Hawaii every year.
No, it is not easy. But you can make it, you can put trust in what your skills are and have that faith that Nicole talked about and help one another. There's several of my employees, we believe in diversified incomes. So we've helped launch 3 or 4 businesses from our employees.
Absolutely.
You mentioned single mom with my business partner. Yeah, I took on the financial burden because she didn't have it, but she is just so smart. I knew that we would make it work together. And I appreciated the fact that she was a single mom and trying to make a difference.
You respected that.
Yeah, very, very much so. But we have to support one another, and it's so important to get into business if you have an idea. That I'm on the Arch Grants Board, where we give $50,000 non-equity grants to startups. Have an idea. If you see a problem and you have an idea that you can solve it, and you believe in it, there is money to be had out there in this community and others, and that women need to take advantage of that, because we multitask. We do, as I was saying, we can do it.
We're good at this.
We're good at this.
And by the way, people are coming from around the country to compete for the Arch Grants.
Oh yeah, all over the world.
All over the world, and right here in St. Louis. So we have it here. Yeah. Nicole, talk to me about that. Why is it so important?
I think it's important because we need to change the face, literally, of business in St. Louis. When you look at what people consider first-tier cities, like around the globe, like London, France, New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, they look very different from they don't look very different when you're just walking down the street, but the business landscape looks very different. And there used to be a time when we felt it was important to have role models that look like the target audience that you're going after for that audience. But it's also important for women like myself and Lorna who are not afraid to step out into other areas where some of those people that you see are afraid to step into, so that other people will see us and feel a little more comfortable. Again, I have no designs that just me showing up somewhere is going to make people change their mind about me or my family.
We hear you.
But if I'm not there, then I can in no way inform or shape the narrative. Another experience I had recently, and I can't remember the young man's name, but we remember the young man who was shot over the loud music in Florida.
Yes.
There is a film that his parents made called 3.5 Minutes, 10 Bullets. And the parents actually came to St. Louis for a showing of it. And what they said was, we didn't make this to make ourselves feel important. We didn't make this to make any money off of it. We did this because we wanted to control the narrative about our child. And that's the reason, just as you said, and both of you are you're active media, you were in media, you know it's very important to control our own narrative. And so the more of us who are entrepreneurs, we get to control our narrative as opposed to just looking for successes in corporate America, because you may be some VP of something in a big multinational organization and you may or may not have a voice in the community.
Well, I so respect the two of you, and I just feel like I'm the lucky one to be able to be friends with you and to be inspired by you and to be able to bring your narrative to...
We appreciate that.
I mean, it's important. It is important. It is absolutely important. So I'm going to say to you that you probably have other questions or reactions or thoughts about what you've just heard from Lorna and from Nicole, and you know how to reach me. And if you don't know, Twitter, Facebook, .com. I mean, it's very easy to find me. So if you have other questions or you want to find them and be a part of their, their journey, we can make that happen as well. So Studio B, by the way, here's an announcement for you. For the rest of the year, we're focused on issues that impact women. So if you have an idea that you'd like me to talk about, just let me know. Thank you so much for joining us on Studio B on KMOX.